Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? This is Jeff from BKJmacTV, and this is the BKJmacTV podcast experience, and this is season 2, episode 3. And today, I'd like to take the moment and send my deepest condolences to the family of Barbara Walters, the Walters family. Barbara Walters, a pioneering, trailblazing, magnificent, brilliant reporter, journalist, writer, creator, artist, passed away. She passed away on December 30th, 2022. Now, when I first saw it, I was shocked. I just couldn't believe it. And it was just like, how does this happen? She lived until she was 93 years old. She lived a very, very long life. And I remember I grew up watching her. I grew up watching her interviews with statesmen, celebrities, high profile individuals that made the media in a good and bad way. She interviewed them all, and her poignant, candid questions allowed the subject being talked to, being interviewed, to be more comfortable, to become forthcoming with the information in order to get the audience to understand the subject a lot better. That was Miss Walters. That's what she did. What I remember when I first started watching Barbara Walters when I was like a little kid. I don't know. I just remembered it. Watching 2020. Her co-host was Hugh Downs, and Hugh Downs passed away in 2020. And I just remember watching those two every Friday night. Back in 95. It was just wow, it was just such a long time ago, and they were a dynamic duo on the anchor chairs for 2020. And it was sad that when he passed away. But Barbara Walters, I watched her specials. She had many specials, and then she interviewed. This is said the segment that it's on Netflix. I believe it's on Netflix or Hulu. And she had and it was like 2 seasons. And she did a throwback to her old interviews from the 80s and the 80s and the 90s to now. And she explained in retrospect how they affected, how they aged long term, and what are the consequences of it and whatnot. And I remember it was just so interesting, it was so powerful. Barbara Walters will forever be missed because she did so much. So much. There's an article. It was written by Todd Liepert, Emma Tucker, and Jamil Lynch for CNN. I want to go in a little bit about it. So tell me. Barbara Walters, the pioneering TV journalist whose interviewing skills made her one of the most prominent figures in broadcasting, has died. Her spokesman confirmed to CNN she was 93. Barbara Walters passed away peacefully in her home surrounded by loved ones. She lived her life with no regrets. She was a trailblazer not only for female journalists but for all women, Walters spokesman Cindy Berger told CNN in a statement. Walters began her national broadcast career in 1961 as a reporter, writer, and panel member for NBC's Today Show before being promoted to co-host in 1974. In 1976, Walters joined ABC News as the first female anchor on an evening news program. Listen to that, the first female anchor on an evening news program. Usually that was dominated by men, and she became the first, trailblazing right there. At that network, Walters launched the Barbara Walters Specials and the 10 most fascinating people before becoming a co-host and correspondent for ABC News 2020 in 1984. So the two things that I highlighted earlier, it was called the Barbara Walters Specials. So basically, she just talked about, she had the interview with so many well-known figures: Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, Jesse Jackson. She had she interviewed the dude that killed John Lennon, and he talked about the inside. She interviewed the guy that killed Robert Kennedy. She interviewed so many big, high-profile people. She even interviewed the teacher that slept with her student, and they ended up, well, she got fired, went to jail, ended up marrying the student, but she ended up dying from cancer in 2020. Yeah, it was just crazy, but it was all part of the Barbara Walters Special. There was so many of these news segments that was there, and she just interviewed these people. She interviewed Michael Jackson. She interviewed so many people. And the 2020 is what I alluded to earlier. What I saw was 95. So it basically at that point had been 11 years since she had been on 2020. She interviewed many U.S. presidents, everybody. In the article it states, along the way, she interviewed every U.S. president and first lady since Richard and Pat Nixon. So she's been interviewing presidents since Richard Nixon. For more than 5 decades, 50 years, Walters was a name to reckon with. Whether speaking with world leaders on news programs, in celebrities' homes for her regular Barbara Walters specials, or on The View, a daytime talk show in which a diverse panel of women discussed the latest headlines. So she created The View. I remember watching the first episode. I was like a kid. I just remember I was watching TV a lot. And I remember when she created The View, it was very, very interesting. I remember Rosie O'Donnell was on that show in its first season. I just remember, and I remember Rosie O'Donnell, and I remember Barbara Walters was there, and they were just talking about these topics, these everyday topics. I didn't understand what they were really talking about. I just tuned in just to watch because, but I watched it, and as I got older, and I started to appreciate the show, and I still watch the show to this day now and whatnot, but she created it, and now it's there, and it's not something that could be easily be replaced. She created a topic for women to come together to talk about the issues that's going on today. It could be either affecting women or what are women thinking about these issues in its current stance. Her shows, some of which she produced, were some of the highest rated of their type and spawned a number of imitators. Indeed, The View, which debuted in 1997, paved the way for the American talk shows The Talk and The Chow, as well as such entries as Britain's Loose Women and Norway's Studio 5. Walters left The View in 2014, but remained a part-time contributor to ABC News for 2 years, so she retired in 2016. I knew it was time, Walters told CNN's Chris Cuomo at the time. I like all the celebration, that's great, but in my heart, I thought I want to walk away while I'm still doing good work, so I will. She wanted to leave while she was still doing good work. She didn't want to be on a low point of her career. She did it on a high note. Looking upon the numerous women who had looked up to her throughout her career, Walters said they were her legacy. How do you say goodbye to something you like 50 years in television? She said in the conclusion. How proud when I see all the young women who are making and reporting the news. If I did anything to help make that happen, that is my legacy. From the bottom of my heart to all of you with whom I've worked and who have watched and been by my side, I can say thank you. And that is the message from Miss Barbara Walters before she passed away. All the anchor women that you see, reporters, journalists, the ones hard-hitting stories, they were all influenced by the late, great Barbara Walters. Walters was married 4 times to business executive Robert Katz, producer Lee Goober, and twice to entertainment mogul Marv Anderson. The second marriage ended in 1992. She is survived by her daughter Jackie, whom she and Gerber adopted in 1968. Walters' Big Get interviews. Walters was born September 25th, 1929, in Boston. Her father, Lou, was a nightclub owner and theatrical imposter, and young Barbara grew up around celebrities, one reason she never appeared fazed by interviewing them. Walters earned her college degree from Sarah Lawrence College in 1953. Amazing. Notoriously competitive, Walters was dogged in her pursuit of Big Get interviews, so much so that there was long-standing reports of rivalry between her and another ABC News stars, such as Diane Sawyer, who joined the network in 1989. That included, most recently, jockeying to land the first interview with Caitlyn Jenner, which Sawyer conducted in 2015. Walters, though, was no slacker in terms of landing major interviews, including presidents, world leaders, and almost every imaginable celebrity, with a well-earned reputation for bringing her subjects to tears. Highlights included her 1999 interview with Monica Lewinsky, which was watched by an average of 48.5 million viewers. I watched that interview, and that was stunning. I remember watching that. It was intense. It was very, very intense. And a historic 1977 joint sit-down with Egypt's Anwar Sadat and Israel Mahmoud began. Walters' first job on air was on NBC's Today Show in the 1960s, where she reported what were then perceived as women's stories. In 1974, she was officially named co-anchor of the show. 2 years later, she became 4-time the best-known person in television when she left Today to join ABC as the first woman to co-anchor a network evening newscast, signing for then starting $1 million a year in 1974. She signed on for $1 million a year. Though her term in that position was short-lived, co-anchor Harry Wesner never warmed to her. She had the last laugh, staying in the network for almost 4 decades and co-hosting the magazine show 2020 with her old Today colleague, Hugh Downs, The View, and countless specials. They were a dynamic duo from NBC to ABC until they retired. She was both mercifully parodied on the early Saturday Night Live. Galda Renner mocked her as the sometimes mishmash Barbara, and richly honored with multiple Emmys, a Peabody, and a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Sometimes seen as a brush, usually by men questioning her forthright demeanor, she could only shrug at the criticism. If it's a woman, it's causistic. If it's a man, it's authoritative. If it's a woman, it's too pushy. If it's a man, it's aggressive. In the best sense of the word, she once observed. So overall, Miss Walters left a lasting legacy behind for all, not just all women, for everybody to follow. If you're interested in journalism, if you're interested in reporting the news and in pursuit of justice, Barbara Walters is the hallmark. She's the foundation that one must follow in order to be successful in that field, and just basically fight to keep your dream alive. Don't give up, because I'm not. Thank you, Ms. Barbara Walters, for your insightful thoughts, your journalistic, your hard work. May your soul rest in peace. On the other side, you will be forever missed on this earth. Amen. God bless. Thank you for listening to this episode 3 of this BKJmac experience, BKJmacTV podcast experience. Peace, love, always one. Peace.